"Hey, that's not fair." Who hasn't said this to mum or dad whenever someone else in the family seems to be getting a better deal than you? I imagine that when this happens, you feel really hard done by and quite cross. Now let's take this thought and match it to this weekend's Sunday's Gospel, the parable of the Prodigal Son. Most of us know how this parable goes. Youngest son wants it all now. He has grown up and thinks he's entitled to the family inheritance and insists that his father gives it all to him now. The oldest son is wise and loyal and stays at home with his father, running the family farm. The father agrees to the youngest son's inheritance reluctantly, probably knowing exactly what the youngest son will do with his money. Lo and behold, that is exactly what happened. The youngest son went off to the city and had a great time, having parties and buying nice clothes, hanging out with the rich, cool people. For one day, he discovered that he had wasted all his money. He had nothing left. The rich, cool people didn't want to hang out with him anymore because he was poor. The youngest son was in a real mess and had to beg for food, even resorting to working on a farm somewhere and eating the scraps that the pigs had been left for the pigs. Finally, the youngest son came to his senses and hoped that the father would welcome him home, even if it was to be one of the staff working on the farm. The father had always hoped and prayed that his youngest son would come home. And when that day came, the father welcomed him with open arms and forgave him. Now let's get to "That's Not Fair." The oldest son had been working on the farm, and on his way home he could hear music and a celebration happening. He asked, "What's going on here?" You know what? The oldest son was so cross and would have said, "Hey, that's not fair." It's a tough parable, isn't it? The good one stays at home, does everything that the father wants, yet the wilder and crazier one gets to have a great time and makes lots of mistakes, yet still can come home and be forgiven. What is going on here? Well, actually, this story is about forgiveness. And it is not only the father that forgives, but the oldest son has to learn to forgive too. Each and every one of us makes mistakes, some silly ones, but some really big ones. But no matter what, if we have faith in God our Father, all our mistakes will be forgiven. This is what the scripture says. His father replied, "My son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we should be glad and celebrate. Your brother was dead, but he is now alive. He was lost, and he has now been found." So remember, be kind and forgiving when you think someone is getting things easier than you or hurts your feelings. Because if God can forgive them, so can you. But here's a wee challenge for this weekend. This Sunday is known as Laetare Sunday, where the dark penitential, Lenten, violet colours are replaced with liturgical rose colours. Why don't you wear lighter, brighter clothes to Mass this weekend? Then you will be part of the preparation for the joy that comes to us at Easter. God bless. And I imagine that this happens when when this happens, can I start again?